Hey everybody, what's up? Ehren here, Question Period Canada. Good to see you. Glad to have you. I can't wait to watch this episode of Question Period from the Senate. It's going to be pretty interesting, I'm sure. Today was a question period in the Commons. This Senate question period is from yesterday, actually. But the question period in the Commons today, when I watched it, got to be honest, it was upsetting today. I've been watching so much politics the last 3 months that, and when I started watching, I was green. I didn't know who the players were, what the stories were, any of that. But now I know. I've watched every question period many times. I've watched all the Senate. Anyways, we're watching the Senate, which is quite a bit different than the Commons. It's a more refined type of politics. It's still Canadian politics, though. We're going to jump right in. Oh, we're trying to jump right in. What is going on? Where did my audio go? No, that's not what we wanted to play. Sorry, guys. Just one moment. We will have this up and running. I grabbed the wrong file. I'm doing a lot of things at once lately, and not to make excuses, but what I have learned by doing a lot of things is that when you have moments like this in your life, don't panic, talk your way through it, and you'll get there. So, there we go. Sorry.
Question period. Période de questions. Senator Platt.
Leader, last week the Assembly of First Nations elected Cindy Woodhouse to be their new leader. She has been the regional chief for Manitoba for the last 3 years, and I send her my very best wishes as she takes up her new responsibilities. In her first press conference as national chief, she was asked if she supports a judicial review of the carbon tax, which is being sought by the chiefs of Ontario. You may remember I raised that with UQP last week, Leader. Her response was absolutely. She also said, and I quote, "From what I'm hearing, it's going to hurt people." Leader, what is your response to the national chief's words? Her words, Leader, not mine.
Senator Gold.
Well, thank you for your question. First, I join you, and I'm sure all members, in congratulating you on her election. And I know the Government of Canada looks forward to working with her in a fruitful way. The truth is that the price on pollution, as it actually operates in Canada, provides assistance to Canadians far more than it hurts them. And so I understand there is a campaign of misinformation that continues to be promulgated on this debate, regardless of how many third-party experts say otherwise. We can't stop that. It's a free country. The fact is, the judicial review process will run its course, and the courts will adjudicate in due course. But the government remains committed to a price on pollution as its essential policy lever, the most cost-effective, efficient, and beneficial measure to combat climate change.
Senator Platt.
It's amazing how the only people that believe what you're saying is your incompetent government and Prime Minister. Leader, the new national chief isn't the only new leader who's spoken out against the carbon tax in recent days. The new Premier of the Northwest Territories, and I guess he also doesn't know what he's talking about, according to you, said on the weekend that he's hoping for a complete exemption for the territory. Premier R.J. Simpson also said, and I quote, "The costs are already high. Higher costs are not the solution up here." Leader, once again, these are not my words. They're the words of the Premier. What's your response to him, Leader?
Senator Gold.
Thank you for your question. First of all, I never said and would never say either the chief or premier or any Canadian, quote, doesn't know what they're talking about. I'm calling out the opposition for a program of disinformation, misinformation. The analysts within this country understand how the carbon price on pollution works, and the government remains committed to helping mitigate the impact on Canadians as it continues to do, has done, and will continue to do.
Senator Martin.
Government Leader, Stephen Buffalo is a member of the Samson Cree Nation south of Edmonton and the President and CEO of Indian Resource Council of Canada. He recently commented on the impact of the Trudeau government's energy cap on Indigenous engagement, employment and equity investment in our oil and gas sector. Quote, Indigenous people demonstrated their entrepreneurial skills and their ability to invest in both community development and long-term wealth creation, keeping in mind both our present and future generations. The government seems willing to overturn our carefully won opportunities and prosperity without the courtesy of full conversation. End of quote. Leader, what is your response to Mr. Buffalo's words? Not mine, but his.
Senator Gold.
Thank you for your question. The government's plan to engage Canadians, stakeholders, Indigenous rights holders, provinces and territories on climate change is an ongoing one. This government has a comprehensive plan that it has many features, whether the most recently introduced cap on emissions, price on pollution, the rebates and incentives provided to Canadians to help them transition. Again, it is normal in a democracy for there to be differences of opinion as to what the best policy approach to combat this existential crisis is, a crisis that affects our well-being, our prosperity, and those of our subsequent generations. It remains the case that this government has a plan, a coherent plan, and it is the only plan on the table, at least in this chamber. The opposition does not have a plan, and it has not seen fit to even provide the beginning of a plan.
Thank you, Senator Gold. Senator Martin.
Well, the Prime Minister has repeatedly said no relationship is more important.
Just for one quick second, I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm not a fan of Mark Gold, but I do respect that he is a man of great tact. Like, he is a very polished politician, and I know that he's lying, but it hurts less the way he does it. That's all I want to say about that. Like, again, just respecting the power that some people, well, it might be evil, but you still have to respect
to his government than the one with Indigenous peoples.
He's able to lie.
However,
like
Leader,
lie.
it is my understanding that Mr. Buffalo and other leaders have repeatedly asked for a meeting with Minister Freeland to discuss the carbon tax, but she won't meet with them. Could you make inquiries and tell us if this is true? And if so, why has Minister Freeland refused this meeting?
Hear, hear.
Senator Gold.
There is ongoing engagement between rights holders and the Government of Canada at very many levels, and I'm delighted at the importance that you're attaching to Indigenous issues. I gather that you are independent then of the party in the other place that voted against so many measures to benefit Indigenous communities. I would like this chamber to be a little bit more sober and a little bit less free of double talk.
Sénatrice Méville-Deschênes.
Senator Méville-Deschênes. Senator Gold, the government has just announced a cap on GHG emissions by 2030. However, our oil and gas production is expected to increase during that period. How can this inconsistency be explained? It's the carbon capture mirage, the industry's miracle cure to continued business as usual. The International Energy Agency recently wrote that we must say goodbye to the illusion that carbon capture is a realistic solution. In fact, it was the Assistant Deputy Minister at the Department of the Environment, John Moffat, who summed it up the best. The big problem, he says, that we are hearing about is that it's a very expensive way to keep producing hydrocarbons. Sooner or later, the whole world has to stop using oil and gas. The problem is not a technical problem, but a moral hazard problem. Should we be resorting to this technology and continue to consume oil and gas? Senator Gold, why spend billions in public funds to continue producing the fossil fuels that we need to do away with as quickly as possible? Senator Gold, thank you. Senator Gold.
Well, merci.
Thank you for the question. I feel a little like Goldilocks. One option's too hot, one is too cold, but the government will continue to adopt a scientific approach to climate change and to ensure a sustainable future. The government of Canada knows that the country has to continue using oil and gas, but that is why the government continues to adopt sustainable solutions and realistic solutions. And this is why we have put forward such a program. The GHG cap will make sure that Canada does its part to reduce emissions and will strengthen the competitivity of our sector against those around the world. Senator Miville-Deschênes. Senator Gold, when the experts look into carbon capture technology, they only do so in a very specific context, to capture emissions from sectors for which there are currently no alternatives, such as steel or cement. No one sees carbon capture as a realistic option for the GHG from oil and gas. So why is Canada stubbornly investing billions of taxpayer dollars in a technology that is leading us to climate and economic dead end? Senator Gold.
Question. It's
Thank
a good
you.
question.
I do accept that question, the first part of that question, with great respect. Every sector in Canada has been called upon to fight against climate change and build a safe future.
We don't even know what
And
we're
to
fighting.
reach that important goal, it's necessary to make investments in technology as well as in innovation. Canada will do its part alongside provincial and territorial industry partners to do its part to save the planet. Senator Lafreda. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The question is for the government representative in the Senate. In Budget 2023, the government committed to working with Visa and MasterCard to lower credit card interchange fees for small businesses, on what we commonly refer to as swipe fees. Last week, Minister Valdez confirmed that a deal was made and explained that small business owners will be able to save $1 billion in the next 5 years because of this agreement. The Canadian Federation of Independent Business has been pushing for this measure for over a decade, but feels the agreement does not go far enough. Senator Gold, small businesses need relief now. So why are these changes being delayed until the fall of 2024? Furthermore, how many businesses will be eligible for these changes? And what is the business size threshold to qualify?
Senator Gold.
Well, thank you for your question and for underlying this important initiative. Small businesses will qualify with each credit card network individually. Specifically, small businesses with annual Visa sales volume below $300,000 will qualify for the lower interchange fees from Visa, and those with annual MasterCard sales volume below $175,000 will qualify for the lower fees from MasterCard. My understanding, Senator, is that over 90% of all credit card accepting small businesses in Canada will benefit from reduced credit card fees of up to 27%, and that will help them save up to $1 billion over 5 years.
Senator Lafreda.
Merci. Well, thank you for the answer. The agreement the government has reached with Visa and MasterCard also includes free access to online fraud and cybersecurity resources, as many businesses have been increasing their presence online, and they may not all have the necessary capital, technology, and expertise to address major cyber breaches. Can you share with us some of the details of this portion of the agreement? What has Visa and MasterCard agreed to in terms of online fraud protection? Is there a limit to its support?
Senator Gold.
Well, I understand that Visa and MasterCard will be providing small businesses that qualify with free access to online fraud and cybersecurity resources, and that's in addition to the existing supports, such as the Canada Digital Adoption Program, which helps such enterprises boost their e-commerce presence and digitize how they run their businesses behind the scenes.
Senator Carignan.
Merci, Madame la
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is for the government leader. Leader, the Liberal government this morning announced not an agreement, but
This
a
guy's
program
Always
for
in French,
dental
but very
care
sharp.
for all Canadians. But it seems that this program was announced before there had even been proper discussions or detailed agreements with the provinces. Of course, that raised the ire of the provinces. And as you know, in Quebec, there already is a dental care program. Jean-François Roberge, the Quebec minister, said, here's another example of the federal government that clearly cannot help itself from overstepping onto provincial jurisdiction. Leader, am I understanding that your government is going ahead with the new dental insurance program without signing an agreement with Quebec or other provinces? Senator Gold. This program was announced some time ago, and as you know, this is a first step, dear colleagues. As for today's announcements, it was very clear that this program will begin by delivering help to the most vulnerable, that is, young people under the age of 18 years of age and seniors, in situations where these individuals do not have insurance from their job or from their province. Therefore, these are federal funds from the government to ensure that 9 million Canadians will have access to a dental care who do not currently have it,
But
to ensure that they receive the care they need. Senator Carignan.
And that people have none now.
I will repeat my question because listening to the answer, I said to myself that you didn't understand it. Yeah. Did I understand that the announcement was made and a program was announced that oversteps into provincial jurisdiction without a prior agreement with Quebec and the provinces? And will this lead to another disagreement over where the money is coming from? Senator Gold. No, I did understand the question, and here's the answer. The government is moving forward with a properly announced program to help Canadians who do not have access through either a company that they might work for or through their province, including Quebec. It is not a matter of overstepping into provincial jurisdiction. It is a matter of the Canadian government doing what it can to help Canadians. Senator Plett.
Another former board member of Sustainable Development Technology Canada has admitted to providing tax dollars to a company in which he has a direct interest.
Oh my goodness.
No misinformation or disinformation, Senator Gold. He admitted it. In this case, it was two separate payments in 2020 and 2021, totaling over $393,000, Leader. It's getting real hard to keep track of all the corruption uncovered at this green slush fund. This is the third Liberal-appointed member who has admitted funneling taxpayers' dollars to companies they have a stake in. Leader, it looks like the Trudeau government gave zero oversight to this slush fund. How else do you explain such blatant corruption? As misinformation?
Senator Gold.
Get some likes for Donald Plett.
Thank you for your question. I think the minister has announced measures to address this situation. There's a review by an independent third-party law firm that will provide support to the minister. It is unacceptable that any such program should not be done with the highest standards. The government has put into place measures to make sure that we get to the bottom of the situation and that this does not happen again.
Senator Plett.
Your appointment. The Trudeau government either provided zero oversight or they knew what was happening at the slush fund and they were fine with it. It's one or the other, Senator Gold. The interim conflict of interest and ethics commissioner has confirmed that he will be investigating this latest board member whose companies received almost $400,000. How many more investigations will be opened before Canadians learn the whole truth about this slush fund? How much more corruption will be uncovered, Leader?
Senator
like
Gold.
the way
You're
you do it
making
compared to
allegations of
yeah.
corruption which are not established, but that the Ethics Commission will be investigating is totally appropriate and within his purview, and the government looks forward to the results of his investigation.
Not
Senator
that you have
Pate.
to respect your enemy, because he's
Thank
not
you,
my
Madam
enemy,
Speaker.
but he's not
My
a-
question is for you, Senator Gold. And first
Clean
of all, I want
player.
to start by expressing my condolences to you and all who have lost loved ones in the past months. Today is the global strike for Gaza. Yesterday was the International Day for Human Rights. Abuses
This
committed
is
by Hamas
NDP,
and other
so-
armed groups, including on October 7th, are war crimes and belong before the International Criminal Court. However egregious, though, they do not extinguish Palestinian humanity nor excuse Israel's extensive and long-standing violations of numerous international laws. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres calls Gaza a graveyard for children and points out that there is something clearly wrong in the way military operations are being done. As we heard from witnesses today at the Human Rights Committee, more than 30 Israeli and over 7,000 Palestinian children have died to date. What concrete actions is Canada taking to push for a ceasefire?
Senator Gold.
Well, thank you for your questions. Indeed, Hamas's terrorist attacks were deplorable. They were war crimes, in particular the sexual and gender-based violence against women, including rape. It's just beyond the pale. The Government of Canada is deeply concerned by the end of the humanitarian pause, the resumption of violence, and the human toll of this conflict, particularly on families, women, and children. Progress was made in releasing some hostages. Progress was made in expanding aid into Gaza, but much more was and is needed. Human lives that are caught up in this war are too precious to be simply reduced to numbers or the aid that Canada is giving. Canada continues to support
How do you measure
the
human
rights
life
of
if you don't
Palestinians
measure
to
it
live in
in
peace and
numbers?
security, as
Come
they
on.
do the right of Israel to live in peace and security, all in accordance with international law.
They're acting
Senator
like it's
Pate?
going to be peace, love, and
Yes,
harmony.
and I thank you. And we
Israel
all
and Gaza,
acknowledge the situation in Gaza is
Palestine
growing
is-
more dire by the hour.
not a new
And UN
thing.
experts, as well as a group of 800 genocide and international law scholars, have written and warned that if it is not already, it is now approaching genocide. When can we expect Canada to join the urgent calls of international human rights leaders for a ceasefire?
Senator Gold.
Ceasefire is going to stop them.
It is not the position of the Government of Canada that the actions that Israel is taking are genocide.
I kind of agree with
it
this
is
side.
also
I
not
shouldn't
the position
probably
of
say
Canada
that on here because I'll
to
lose
call
people.
for a ceasefire.
But there's nothing
Canada
we can do
has been
about
at the
Gaza.
forefront with the United States and its democratic allies in calling for humanitarian pauses, and as I said, deplores that they
Again,
have come
that's
to an
a
end, and
new
will continue to
Democrat
push
senator asking
forward
that question.
so that proper assistance can be given to the residents of Gaza. They deserve it.
Senator Martin.
It's none of our business.
Government leader, the Trudeau
the
government
Ukraine.
failed to give Kinder Morgan the certainty they were seeking to build Trans Mountain expansion. In fact, the Prime Minister provided the opposite of certainty. Just 2 months after approving the project, he said of Alberta's oil sands, quote, "We need to phase them out." When the Trudeau government bought Trans Mountain with $4.5 billion from taxpayers, they promised there would be no fiscal hit to this purchase. The current cost estimate for building Trans Mountain is now just under $31 billion. Leader, how much will Trans Mountain cost taxpayers by the time it's in service?
Senator Gold.
The government's decision some many years ago to step in to ensure that the pipeline was built was a recognition of the complex situation that we face in this country, with provinces and indeed citizens relying upon sectors of our economy, fossil-producing sectors, as well as making sure that we can take the steps we need to reduce the environmental impact of burning fossil fuels and the environmental disasters that we saw so tragically in Lac Megantic when we transport fossil fuels and gas in less than ideal ways. The government does not intend to be a long-term owner of the Trans Mountain Pipeline. As you know, and we've talked about this over the years, there are parties interested, and the Government of Canada will continue to pursue that avenue.
Senator Martin.
Yes, I don't think you answered my question as to how much taxpayers expect to pay for this final beginning of services. But, Leader, the Trans Mountain Pipeline Expansion Project is currently scheduled to be completed by the end of March, just a few months from now. Given that the regulator recently denied a variance on a section of the pipeline, will the Trudeau government meet its deadline, or will it see yet another delay?
Senator Gold.
Well, the government is committed to moving forward with it as best as it can. This project, like all such projects, as we know, encounters various challenges along the way, whether it's stakeholders, regulatory issues, and the like, but the government will continue to work with dispatch to reach the goal, the deadline that has been established.
Senator Platt.
Leader, Mr. Bob Pickard, a Canadian who held a senior role in the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, appeared before a House committee this afternoon. He told the committee the President's office in this bank is dominated by senior Communist Party members. He said there is undue CCP influence in the everyday operations of the bank. On Canada, he said, our membership in this organization was not giving this country a single thing of tangible value that we could proudly explain to the people here in our country. Leader, this bank is another perfect example of why Prime Minister Trudeau is just not worth the cost, isn't it? Hundreds of millions for nothing of tangible value. Canada should have withdrawn long ago. Will you do so today, Leader?
Senator Gold.
I don't think he's going to do it today.
No, I will not withdraw Canada from the Infrastructure Bank today. As I've mentioned on an earlier occasion in an earlier response to your question, there's no question but that our relationship with China has changed over the course of the years, and things have come to light in terms of the actions of China in the world and in Canada that are quite different from the assumptions that were made by previous governments, and indeed even this government.
The Chinese are trying to kill Jenny Kwan.
And as I believe
the
government
People's
has
Republic
stated
of
on
China.
previous occasions, there is a rethink going on in all aspects of our very complex relationships with China, and that will continue to be so in the days and months to come.
Senator Platt.
Speaking of not worth the cost, the Prime Minister's made-up rapporteur stepped down in June after submitting a final report to the Prime Minister that has been kept secret. By now, the Trudeau government should know the total amount of taxpayers' dollars it wasted while trying to hide what the Prime Minister knew about Beijing's interference. How much was spent in relation to the rapporteur, Leader, and how is this spending broken down?
Senator Gold.
Well, I do not have the answer for that, and I am so tempted to remind the Canadians who may be listening of the waste of money that was of taxpayers' money and the human cost for the dilatory tactics that were taking place most recently. But of course, I shan't do that. Simply to say that there is an investigation going on now with Justice Og, and the government looks forward to its continual progress.
Senator McFedrin.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. As per my statement, my question relates to what is going on in Gaza. For too long, the sexualized gender-based crimes against Israelis, mostly women, had not been condemned by UN Women, but last Monday they spoke about the need for a full investigation so that perpetrators at all sides can be held accountable and justice can be served.
It's just that
reports from Israel this week confirmed that fighting in Gaza is the most intense since the start of the Israeli ground offensive. Human Rights Watch notes that since October 7th, one child in Gaza has been killed every 10 minutes on average. We know that UN Secretary-General Guterres has invoked Article 99 of the UN Charter, and that the death toll of Palestinians, mostly women and children, is climbing past 18,000. Out of concern for human civilization, when will Canada call for a ceasefire?
Senator Gold.
I guess
Again,
I'd just call it
thank you for your
ceasefire and then be
question.
like, good, see what it
The
did?
toll
it did
of this
nothing,
war
but we
is
did
tragic.
It, I guess. I don't know.
Every human life is precious. Whatever your tradition, religious or otherwise, nobody deserves to be the victim of
Not that it matters, but
of a
he's
war.
a Jewish man.
Much less
Just a fact.
the deliberate and brutal violence that you began your question by noting. Canada is working with its democratic allies, notably the United States, notably the European Union, to do what it can do to provide humanitarian aid to Gaza, to work with, in this case, Israel, to ensure that Israel is doing everything that it can do to minimize the inevitable collateral, that's a terrible word, inevitable damage that prosecuting a war in an area like Gaza is, and it will continue to do so because that's deeply part of what the Canadian position is.
Merci, Senator Gold.
Thank you, Senator Gold.
Senator McFadden.
Thank you very much. Senator Gold,
She's going at it again.
we appreciate your answers. We know that you receive directions as to what you can say in response. But is Canada
She made a good point
considering
there.
alternatives to what is being called pauses? Can there not be some greater action taken on the part of Canada to actually bring an end to this devastation and go to the point of supporting negotiations for peace?
Senator Gold.
I represent the government, and so when I stand here, I do represent the government position, which is different from quote taking directions. Just so let us be clear about
Sorry,
that.
so that did piss him off.
Canada has
That's
always
interesting.
supported peace in the Middle East. It has
Yeah,
supported
she
the
did
two-state
insult him.
solution from day one. And day one, not day one. Well, yes, day one, quite frankly, when the State of Israel was founded. There was a two-state solution on the table that was rejected by all surrounding neighbors. It will continue to support that approach, even though right now, at least as far as Hamas is going, there is no interlocutor. for
Merci,
peace.
Senator
wound up.
Gold.
He's wound up.
Merci, Senator.
Thank you, Senator Gold.
Monsieur le Leader, ma question porte sur
Mr. Leader, my question is on the federal
wound up.
government's projections regarding its workspaces in response to telework. Last October, I received answers from Public Services and Procurement Canada. They told me that at that time the government was not compiling statistics on its employees' telework. However, on May 29th of last year, Paul Thompson, before a parliamentary committee, said that the government was planning to reduce up to 50% the units of office space that it has because of the increase of telework. But, Mr. Leader, does your government know what is happening in its departments? Is it aware of these inconsistencies and this plan to decrease office space by 50%? Senator Gold. Everyone is well aware that this change, not only in the government, but writ large, began well before the pandemic. The pandemic accelerated the changes. So the government acted cautiously and so as to support this cultural shift, which we're especially seeing in our young people, whose number one criterion for accepting a job in the federal government or in the private sector, and I'm speaking from experience here, is the following. Can I work at home at least half of the time? That is my answer. Senator Carignan. Mr. Leader, once again, I know what the trend is. And all employers know how many individuals are doing telework that are under their employment, except in Canada. I received an answer to 2 written questions, And the deputy minister said the same thing here at the committee. So someone is lying. Who is it? Minister
That's a big question.
Senator
Someone's lying.
Gold.
Who is it?
Perhaps for you, the world is black and white, truth or lies, but that's not real life. In real life, there can be divergent opinions. Excuse me, I will complete my answer. You received 2 answers, and I'm very pleased that you got answers to your question.
Time for question period has expired.
I expected that it was wrapping up sometime soon. So I have trouble enough trusting. Yeah. So that's the Senate question period. It's a lot of fun. I can't believe how much I'm enjoying like trying to interact. I've got to get a new keyboard. I'm probably going to have to set something up differently, because what I have figured out over doing the last couple of months of these is that especially for the Senate question period, people don't want me talking. So like, that's why I don't say much during this. And when I do, I'm always like, shut up. They don't want to hear you. I get that. Different setup, because I do like communicating. And if you happen to know anybody that doesn't know about the things that we're watching here, because we are learning together. Like, that's the whole point. When I started this, I was like, I've got to learn about Canadian politics, because I can't bitch and complain if I don't know who or what to complain about. There was a time I knew about politics in a younger mind, but I did. And it was back then, it was at the end of the Harper run. And after that, once I saw the Liberals come in and it felt like there was a change, I was like, okay, things are fine. Had no idea how bad things can get. Holy moly. Like, since then, I've been a homeowner and stuff. I'm going to have somebody move in. Like, I live by myself. I don't have kids or ex-wife or anything. Like, I should be okay financially. I've got the same job that I've had for 20 years, but it's not. Like, everything is gone. And I spend less money on like luxury or just like play stuff than I ever have. It's just tough out there. And so we're finding out, how did we get here? How did it happen? And I do feel like I'm starting to catch on that there is something really scary going on in the world. And I don't talk about it too much on here, but like, I don't want to be eating bugs. I don't want you to have to eat bugs. Like, it seems like they're pricing out groceries. So it's going to be like, okay, I'm really hungry. I'll eat a bug. Like, it has chocolate on it or it's chocolate flavored. Great. Then I'll not interested in that, man. We're Canadians. It should be different than that. We're a powerful nation with amazing people and the natural resources and space that we have here. Why are we poor? Like changing what it is that we eat or would want to eat. I'm one of those people. It's 60 degrees in my house. That's 10 degrees. I used to keep it at 70. This is the first winter I'm trying it. And it is working. It goes a lot easier on oil. But like, at what cost? Like, at what sacrifice? That's it. I'm Ehren. And this is Question Period Canada. We're having a blast. I make other videos. If you haven't seen any of my shorts, I know it's different than the Senate kind of stuff. I just try to have some fun with politics. And I also make other silly videos. I do the live question periods from the Commons, and I do I do highlight videos on that every day. We're just getting into it, trying to figure out what people want to see. And especially now that I have a stronger background and know a few of the players and how it works, I can do that. If you have any ideas you'd like to share, I've gotten some of my best ideas from Boo here. Like, like, I wouldn't be covering the Senate if it wasn't for Mubu. I would have not known. Like, maybe I would have by now, but I wouldn't have been covering it until he suggested giving that a shot. Then we tried it and it was like, oh my God, this is so interesting and different than regular politics or than the Commons. But again, catching on to it too. So it's fun. Anyway, I'm going to get going. That's maybe my longest ramble, but just feeling more comfortable. Again, when I'm doing this part on the camera, I don't see what's happening on the screens. We're making a little group here of people that like to hang out and watch some Canadian politics, and that's awesome. I love that. And I'm feeling like I am learning as well, which is important, so that we can spread the knowledge on what, because again, I don't have a side. I'm on our side. That's it. Like, I know we need change, and obviously it's going to be the Conservatives because they're not going NDP or Bloc. Poilievre looks like he's got some better ideas or just some common sense. I know they're all like taglines, but there's some truth behind some of them. That's it. Ehren, Question Period Canada. Like, subscribe, tell a friend. That's the most important thing to me by now, is if you have somebody that might watch some of this, if you could let them know that there's somebody else trying something, a different approach to Canadian politics, more. I'm just a voter. That's it. And I'm trying to learn and spread what I'm learning. Okay. We're out. I'm just rambling now. It's been fun. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching. Try to stay warm. Remember to eat something healthy.